We are all chasing something greater. It's not quantifiable. It's not ubiquitous. It's not the same for every person. It's success. And the cold, hard truth is, only some people have it in them to succeed. Do you? Well, what is success? The answer is, What Success Upturn. And we're bringing all the inspiration of What Success Upturn to you from those who have pushed relentlessly against all odds, beaten the competition, and won. Success Upturn reveals the other side of winning, the grueling long nights that end in failure, forcing you to get back up again. The sacrifices of family, friends, and faith, resulting in tears, rejection, and loss. We take an intense look at the financial stress following your own path can cause, and the do-or-die defining moments where those who don't have it in them give up, and those that do break through and enter a level of success where their faith, their family, and their quality of life is what they dreamed it would be, and more. In the end, it's your spirit that has the willpower and energy needed to break through the pain of brain-racking work, and it's your spirit that's rejuvenated and rewarded the moment your success comes rolling in. If you want to share your story and share your Success Upturn history, go online to successupturn.com or call 713-530-2455 to be part of the Success Upturn podcast today.
Good afternoon, everybody. Here today. Welcome to Success Upturn. Alfonso Parodi, and today we have as a special guest Mr. John Isom, Chief Economic Development for the City of Waller. Welcome, Mr. John.
Thank you, Alfonso. I'm glad to be here with you.
Absolutely. Actually, the pleasure is ours. You know, the City of Waller is now hot as fire. We all know that it's going to be actually the second county on growth in Texas by 2050, and is also going to have their curve of growth. The biggest curve of growth is going to be in the first 10 years, what is now to 2030, based on the reports that I have read.
Yep.
So I understand that you're busy.
A lot of growth coming our way.
That's right.
We're
that's right. So
the
thank
new
you.
frontier.
Thank you for giving us the time today.
Absolutely.
To share your success story. So, Mr. John, tell us a little bit about your first job as adult when you got out of college. How did your working life started?
Okay. Mine actually started in college. The first adult job was with IBM at NASA. I was a sophomore at the University of Houston.
You working in software?
I was a sophomore.
Sophomore.
Second year at University of Houston.
Okay.
And got a job as an engineer's aide.
Engineer?
At IBM down at NASA through an employment service. That was mostly clerical work. Found out that was mostly making copies and updating programming manuals.
Well, IBM is a huge company.
Absolutely.
I'm a citizen. I was born here, but back in my college days in 1990s, so somewhere around there, it was like the top place to work.
Yeah, it was a pretty exciting time back then, especially since it's involved in the space program and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, well, I was helped coordinate updates to the Apollo mission control ground support software.
You mean the first man in the moon?
Yeah, the moon mission. I started right at the end of Gemini and then got into the first part of Apollo.
Are you serious?
Yes, I was there. I'm that old.
Wow, no, you look pretty young, sir. I would take that out of the picture.
No, I
was more impressed. I'm more impressed about meaning that a person who has been involved in in something that actually changed the world.
Yeah. Well,
we got out of the planet.
It was an exciting time, very exciting time. So I was working as just a aide, clerk, that sort of thing. Then when the Apollo manned part of the crew started gearing up, that was kind of a slow time at first. Then it went really quickly. The crew part of Apollo started off with a very tragic fire on the launch pad in 1967, January of 67. Lost 3 astronauts at that time. So that put the whole program in a long delay.
It's like living a movie right now, sir.
Yeah.
I watch movies. I'm serious. That's when I was reading our pre-interview.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, for real?
Well, it was very interesting. Once they started getting back to launches, it went very quick. There's something like 5 missions, I guess, in about 9 months. It was just every other month
you work
something
a
was
day?
happening. At least 36.
A day, yeah, right? I would think so because there was a lot of competition with Russia at that time, other countries. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, the Russians were actually the first in space, so we started behind and kept working at it. JFK made a goal of putting a man on the moon before the end of the decade, and that's what everybody's working hard toward. It was amazing to see everybody work together on it like that. But
that's right.
Everybody was really unified around that goal, I think, at that time.
So the culture was
supportive. Yeah.
Yes, it was very intense.
Right, it was. So we had, you had like the first crew launch was in October of 68, Earth orbit mission. And then immediately the next launch went to the moon.
Wow.
And that was
How do you feel?
Well, it was exciting. I mean, I was just a college kid.
Like inside you.
Oh, yeah. Very, very proud of being a part of that, for sure. Very proud of that.
I'm proud right now. You're next to me.
It was a great time. The Apollo 8 went to the moon, just circled the moon. That's where we first saw the first images of the Earth from space, just sitting out there by itself and that kind of thing. Apollo 9 then was a first test of the lunar module in Earth orbit. Undocking, rendezvousing, and prove that they could rendezvous like that. And then Apollo 10 went right back to the moon and did everything but a landing mission. And then Apollo 11 in July of 1969 was the first landing, of course.
I always have a thought, a phrase. English is my second language. Everybody knows that. If you can see the invisible, you can do the impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like putting somebody in the moon, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody, it's like nobody believes you.
It's an impossible goal, it seems like. But once the goal was set, everybody was working toward that same goal.
Will you agree that's a mindset?
Yeah.
And everything starts in your mind, and the enemy is always between your ears?
Yeah. Yeah. And then you just have to cut it up into bite-sized pieces and keep working the problem till you get it done. It was an amazing engineering project. Absolutely.
I was listening. I'm always every morning waking up at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, and I start my day by meditating and listening motivational videos. And this caught my attention. If you have a problem and you can fix it by paying for it, then you don't have a problem.
Yeah.
What you do have is lack ideas.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's kind of like mentality. Just because you pay for it doesn't mean it's going to change. And in what you're talking about is just the brightest minds.
Yeah.
Put them together.
Right.
How do we do in this podcast right now? Like, people are listening. Like, they're watching us. How? I understand how, but I really don't understand how.
Somebody had the idea first, how to do that. Right. Yeah.
And you were part of it.
Yeah.
And
small part.
How did your family? How did everybody, friends, and did people question you? Like, and even though you say you were in a small, but doesn't matter. It's a one project. It's everybody rowing together in one boat because that's the only way it works.
Right.
One team. Team comes always first, than the individual. Do you have? That was back in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any resistance? Plus, we have a war after that, so the country was a little divided, and they probably didn't want to budget. Can you tell us a little bit more?
Well, I think the disappointing thing overall is that once we went to the moon, a few times. It just kind of dropped back and didn't continue to explore. You know, it fell back to just Earth orbit and the space station kind of deal in Earth orbit instead of continuing to explore. I think at the point of the moon landing, everyone felt like we were just going to keep going and, Mars and then see what else is out there.
Yeah, they were selling tickets now.
Yeah. And so there's some disappointment in that aspect, a few years after the moon landing that we didn't continue to do that.
And what you think was behind, well, of course, if you can disclose and talk, because some things might be private or, non-disclose agreements, I don't know, me overthinking, but how did people feel about it?
A lot of people were disappointed. Other people, you mentioned budgets. Other people felt like, it was spending too much money on other things instead of on people's needs on Earth, that kind of thing. So that's where the dichotomy was, and the discussion about budgeting and all that. So that's one reason.
Well, we have a war in the middle of that.
And a war too. Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So we were fighting socialism.
Yeah.
And it's funny, just a thought. Leave it there.
It was a pretty chaotic times.
Right.
At sometimes points in there. Yeah.
Wow.
My wife and I were married in 1968, and in the middle of all these riots and things like that, and we just said, well, what the heck? It's a good time to get married anyway.
That's right. That's right. So you have been married like 50 years?
52 now. Yeah, 52.
Yeah, because that's when my older brother was born.
Okay.
He's also a veteran too. So thanks for his service as well. If you're
Yes,
listening, Eddie. And that's in the 1960s. So tell us more about, you went to school. What did you graduate on?
I graduated a business degree from U of H, but I went right straight into full-time work.
You're full Houstonian.
I'm sorry?
Are you a full Houstonian, born, raised, created?
Yeah, Houston
clone
area.
it, make it.
Houston area.
Houston area.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
seldom
Texan.
lived in the city of Houston, but I've lived all around
Texas.
it.
You're
Right.
a Texan.
Texas, Baytown, Pasadena,
Right.
all those areas. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And now you're on the opposite side.
I did. Yeah.
We'll talk about it a little bit later, what it takes you over there.
Yeah.
And I understand that you also were drafted.
Yeah, right. Pretty soon after the Apollo program, I graduated, and that puts you eligible for the draft at that point. And at that time, they did a draft lottery to discern,
Right.
decide who was going to be drafted. Well, so your birthday would be given a number from 1 to 365.
Yep.
And I was number 13.
Wow.
So seemed appropriate at the time. But I did get drafted in the Army, but because I had already been working with IBM at NASA and had programming experience, I was able to just go to basic training camp at Fort Polk, and then immediately went to the Pentagon, to an Army computer agency, and was able to work there the rest of my enlistment.
Well, I would say, like, you're just not just went over there. It's like why a baseball player is worth 20 million and the other one is worth 10 million and the other one is worth 40 million is your value. And I think that they find where you were more valuable for your country, and they put you in the right place for the efforts that you have done, investing 36 hours a day. That's how I see it.
Yeah,
that's how I see it.
Well, that's the way every organization should be. I think, is to put people in the best place using their background and abilities, and make all those units function together, work together.
Amen. That's what we just have to keep believing and working together on that. And I totally agree on that. It takes time. It takes time and resilience, and don't give up, and faith and faith. So, okay, let me get this again. You were married in 68 and you were gone at 69.
Yep.
How many years on the Pentagon?
At the Pentagon, it was really only about 14 months.
Oh, 14 months.
Right.
You took your wife with you there?
Yes, we lived in Alexandria, Virginia.
Nice.
About a mile from George Washington's home.
Yeah, I went. You know what? I went over there. I'm a realtor, of course, and I was a director for the National Association of Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, and we had a conference just when COVID started in Washington to visit the president and all these things. So I bought my tickets and the whole fancy. They didn't allow me to cancel anything, but they canceled the conference. So I still fly. And when I got there, they allowed me to cancel everything, but it was too late.
Mm-hmm.
I have the whole town for myself and my partner. Like, for real.
And even that's not long enough to see everything, is it?
Right. We have 4 days, 5 days.
Yeah.
The restaurants were closing eventually, so we were eating on, they don't have HEB, but we were eating a wholesale market and things like that. But we did the whole tours, and we went everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's the only time I've been in Washington.
Beautiful place, isn't it?
Incredible.
Yeah.
But everybody over there was telling me this is never have happened in life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can walk. Like, we got scooters. We went all over. we actually got a bus ride at night. And because we were the only ones, they sent us a private ride.
Mm-hmm.
And they take us everywhere, everywhere at night. And so I know exactly where you work, right?
Yeah,
And it was an experience.
Yeah,
It was an experience.
great place to be.
Yes, it was clean.
Mm-hmm.
It was just beautiful. I guess it's speechless.
Everybody needs to see the nation's capital.
Absolutely.
And enjoy it. Yeah.
Yes,
really
absolutely. I don't know how it is when it's crowded.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like Houston traffic.
Yes, sometimes worse.
Yeah. Well, sometimes your own perspective is your reality.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what you don't know. Have you lived in another state?
Nope, we really haven't.
Hmm?
Just there is the only time we've lived outside of Texas.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. So you have.
Uh-huh.
I lived in Florida for like 3 years in
Uh-huh.
2008. I got relocated because at that time my wife got relocated.
Mm-hmm.
And God bless Texas. God bless Houston.
Yeah, it's different everywhere else, isn't it?
Yes, and I love it. I love the beach and everything. I took a year off because the market took a year off for real. I tried to apply to Walmart, Target,
Mm-hmm.
all those things. They never hire me, and they were right. They shouldn't hire me because I will quit on the next job that I get.
Mm-hmm.
And I got my license and did well over there. But again, we have it so easy here, so easy in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for real. When I came back after working in a so competitive place,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no jobs, nothing, I was like, wow, thanks God to give me perspective.
Seems like there's always more opportunity around here.
It's incredible.
Yep.
And I'm born here. I understand that your position is economic, develop
Mhm.
opportunities.
Mhm.
And in United States, it's amazing. It's just impossible that you don't work.
Yeah.
If you don't work, it's because you just don't want to work in a job that you don't like, but you will have a job
You're right. Right.
no matter what. I washed cars when I got here.
Yeah.
And I didn't get paid because my crazy parents never got my Social Security. So I have my passport, but I never have a Social Security. So I have to wait 6 months.
Yeah.
And I got screwed and all these things, sleep in the floor for 6 months. And the day that I cried that I want to get out here, I got my Social Security. The next day I got a job and I never stopped
Mm-hmm.
80 to 120 hours a week. That's how I learn English.
If somebody wants to succeed, they should be able to in this area.
It's just no excuse.
Yep.
Yes. Impossible is just an opinion.
Yeah.
And whatever anybody thinks,
That's good.
it will never define me.
Yeah.
Or shouldn't define anybody that's listening. Don't forget, everybody, if you're listening to this podcast, share it. It's also on video on our Facebook page, fb.com/Success Upturn. If you would like to be interviewed in this program, just call me at 713-530-2455. And of course, download us at Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and Google Podcast. Just look for Success Upturn. So, Mr. John, what happened after the Army?
I went back to work for IBM. At that time, they were getting into the Skylab program, and I worked there through
What's
Skylab.
Skylab? Excuse my ignorance.
Well, Skylab was the first attempt to prove that you could operate a space station above the Earth. So,
Okay.
this was before the International Space Station. It was the transition to that. where they showed that they could work in space. They had
I don't know. We're like 7 billion. I don't think too many people have the experience that you have had. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, they had 3 different crews went to Skylab. During that time, I took a different kind of position. Was what was called an IBM flight controller. We worked with the NASA flight controllers. Everybody's seen the picture of Mission Control with the world map in front and all that. Well, the IBM controllers are in a different room, interfacing with those flight controllers and making inputs for them and making sure the computer's running smoothly and those kinds of things. So that was a lot of fun as
I
well.
bet.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting if you think about the computer power that you have in your phone
Right.
right now. My phone has 4 gigabytes of RAM, random
Right.
access memory for operations. That's equivalent to 4,000 megs.
Right.
The Apollo mission computers ran on 1 meg of RAM.
And we got it to the moon.
1 meg. That's all it ran on, as opposed to 4,000 meg in a 4 gig machine. And then in terms of storage, my phone's got 256 gigabytes.
Right.
256,000 megs. We ran Apollo missions on 29 meg. So just goes to show you how things have changed and how much computing power we have in our phones.
Absolutely,
these days.
absolutely.
It's
Even
just
cell
crazy.
phones. I was back in Peru and I went to college, one of the best college, Universidad de Lima in Peru. And I remember having my first cell phone, those big ones in the 90s, that
Yeah.
you can throw to someone. And now they're small, so small, and you have all type kind, and most don't understand how much work has been done in
Yeah.
order to get to that level.
That's technology. Back then we had 500 programmers at IBM. And the reason for that, and just programming, 29 megs of storage and 1 meg of random access. And the reason for that is that we had to operate in real time. The missions
Right.
had to operate in real time. They would get trajectory data and spacecraft data from a radar site in Australia, say, and that has to be accessed, sent to Houston, processed by the computers, displayed to the flight controllers, and oftentimes information is sent back to a radar site in 1 second. So that's why they call it operating in real time. Didn't have to wait on anything like that. So that's why even in 1 meg of operating memory, they were able to do that with that
Wow.
programming power behind it.
So how do you felt in the countdowns? Like 10,
Yeah.
9. Tell me about it. I want to hear it.
It was always scary, always tense,
Right.
for sure. They could call it off at 2, call it off and go wait another day. So
That happens often.
Didn't happen real often, but it was always a possibility.
I always remember the Challenger. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right.
Right.
Some of our listeners might be too young to know that. That was in 1986, right? Somewhere on there.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
right.
That was why I actually watched it live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was very. There was a teacher. It was like.
Space flight has always been absolutely dangerous. I mean, you just think about it as an engineering project. That's just amazing.
What happened? Something.
I think they had
The theory.
Yeah. It was related to another explosion, just like Apollo 13 was, or similar. Apollo 13 had an explosion as they were going to the moon. They had no
Right.
power, so they had to just had to keep themselves alive until they got to the moon, and then basically did a slingshot around the moon, being captured by its gravity, and sling it back toward Earth
Right.
without being able to do any power moves.
Right.
Is also. If anybody hadn't watched the movie Apollo 13, they
have.
can enjoy that one.
Yes, several times.
Yeah.
It's a classic.
It is. But every mission, that was a possibility. Yeah, so
Of course.
it's
If
really
there's
amazing.
a risk in any.
It's amazing how much we got done, I would say.
Yeah, there's always in flights, there's a risk. You just
Yeah.
don't know it until you experience it.
Absolutely.
And like the guy, forgot his last name right now, the gentleman that landed on the river, and that's insane.
Oh, yeah. In New York,
Yes,
Yeah.
that's insane.
Yeah.
Like seriously.
you have to know what you're doing.
And when you hear his voice,
Yeah.
so calm and so cold,
Yep.
like beyond cold.
Yeah.
And then being questioned.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that wasn't a movie, at least.
What do you think about James Lovell on Apollo 13? They're gliding toward the moon. All of a sudden, they hear an explosion. All their power goes out, And all he says is, Houston, we got a problem. He's pretty calm too at that point. They just, those guys are experienced. They just know they have to work the problem and not
Right.
get excited.
And what kind of training they have for that mental toughness?
Well, most of them were military test pilots, first place, before they went to the astronaut program. So
So
they
like
had,
the movies, they just almost get to the air.
Yeah,
and
they had that kind of experience. They probably already had plane crashes and the ejections
Right.
and different things like that they'd had to deal with before
I
they
would
got
die in a
there.
heart attack, probably.
Yeah, me too.
Immediately.
Me too.
Seriously.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure.
I experienced that when I had my first shark encounter
Mhm.
in Florida. I used to be a professional surfer, and there's a beach that's called New Smyrna. It's the capital world of shark attacks. Small sharks, like maybe 5 to 7 feet. They're still big, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
But when I saw my first one, I literally happened what it happened.
yeah, I can believe
But
it.
then I got used to it.
Yeah.
Then I got used to it.
I've been lucky. I hadn't had a
Yeah.
fight with a shark yet.
Yeah. What happened is the water is very mercury, so you don't see it there.
Mm.
So they don't see you. They don't like us. They just want to taste, but they don't have hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have. And then back in south, and I drive the whole coast that year that I took off
Mhm.
because I was a surfer. I went back to my roots
Okay.
to keep me alive.
Yeah.
To keep myself alive because I was frustrated that I was not bringing anything.
Hmm.
Even if I try.
Yeah.
I try to apply everywhere. Yeah, I was getting upset that people don't email me or Facebook me back in 1 minute.
Yeah.
So
Frustrating.
very frustrating. Yes, you are your own enemy.
Mm.
You are your own enemy. So, you decide to take a different direction in your life at a certain point. What make you elaborate? If you can, please elaborate on that. Why? And tell us more.
Okay. During that time working at Skylab, in the early part of shuttle preparation, my wife Barbara and I were living, 2 young kids at the time too. We were living in Pasadena and Baytown at that point, and God had been dealing with me about my life and things to be involved in, how to spend my time, things like that. And in the early 1980,
So you find yourself.
I was a Christian all that time,
Well, yeah,
but I came to the point where I felt like He wanted to use me in a different way.
you're right.
So joined a church staff here in Waller at that time, came to the church in Waller to do work with youth and music ministries.
Right.
So early 1980, we came to Waller. I served as a youth minister and worship leader there for 22 years full time, and then another 18 years part time, which just completed that in March of this year.
Well, thank you again
Yeah.
for changing so many people's lives.
It was really great to minister to people, to work directly with youth and take them to camps and such, counsel with them, see them mature.
Right,
in
that's
their
what I'm
walk with the
talking
Lord.
about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a very good time. Our kids, Danny and Christy, grew up in a small town. We enjoyed them having that small town experience. Good schools, good teachers, and just a good
Something that
small
we're
town.
lacking now.
Yeah. I also enjoyed the experience of not only leading choirs, being able to sing in a choir. We had a choir of
You sing?
off
Can
and
you
on.
sing? You want to sing a song for us?
No, I don't.
No, not okay. I'm pushing. I know. I wish I can sing.
But I got to be
I
with-
honestly wish I can sing.
All right.
Yeah.
I got to be with a group of actually about like 40 worship leaders, ministers of music, who
Mhm.
did concerts and mission trips. So I got to sing with them several times, Canada and Mexico for mission trips. So those are great times as well as part of that
You
ministry.
do a mission trip a year, or what you were doing?
Oh, well, our church did mission trips pretty much every year or every other year. And this singing group would just every once in a while we would do a
Would you
specific
think
trip.
that those mission trips are better than college? Kind of like, in a certain way, teach you what real life is about.
Oh,
it,
yeah.
and when there's another world outside,
Absolutely.
and
I
bring
mean,
you back to Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, you learn to serve much more on a mission trip.
Yes.
You learn to innovate. You learn to deal with whatever you have to deal with.
Yeah.
And so all those are good training. And
Newspaper from like 3 weeks ago. No water,
yeah, I've seen
no food.
high school students really learn to lead in
and
situations
kids
like
happy
that.
as hell,
Yeah.
and poverty.
Yeah. It's
It's a lifestyle. You know, it's not really being broke is a mindset.
Yeah.
You can be, yeah, poverty is a lifestyle, and you can be completely happy. Money doesn't buy happiness.
no, not at all.
Not at all.
It's your experiences and the people you're with, your relationships.
That's right. You share happiness. That's a self job.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to make themselves happy. And the reason why I ask you about the mission trips, back in my youth, when I was in my teenagers and to my 20s, I mentioned I was a professional surfer, and I traveled a lot, probably like 20 countries already when I was 19.
Nice.
And definitely, there's a world out there.
Yeah.
I didn't travel fancy. I just backpacker, and it is what it is.
That's great exposure.
My budget was $1 a day and survive. Eat what is moving.
Yeah. That's a great experience. Everybody ought to have something like that.
Yeah. When my kids get older, I definitely will send them that way to experience and serve, because that's the best school ever they can get. Other than that, I'm not talking about academics and all things. I have a different opinion a little bit about schools. I think that everybody, I don't impose anybody opinions. I respect everybody's opinions. Just don't impose me yours. I think we can do as a nation a better job teaching our kids about deal with life, because when you get out of school, life won't rate you 1 to 100 or A to F. It would rate you withdrawal or victory, depression, or success, and how they overcome. And if you're so used to get hundreds, the first problem that happens, you might even kill yourself.
Don't know how to deal with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not only that, you also don't know how to deal with money. You also don't know how to be self-reliable, be a self-employee or a small business owner. They teach him to be dependent, and it's not, it's out to my pay grade, but I have the right to have my thoughts, right? And I respect everybody else's thoughts. And that's one thing that I don't understand here versus where I grow up, where it's, a third world, maybe it's a second world now, and the schools are completely different. But,
there needs to be more practical experience taught in schools rather than just academics. And that's one reason I think that career and technology education in high schools is a very good step forward.
Right. Absolutely.
That kids can come out of high school with some kind of industry certification.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
They've been trained by a professional. They're not just learning things out of textbook, but they've been trained by a professional.
Real life.
How to do things, what really makes a difference on the job.
I'll be happy to teach free. To me, teaching is therapy.
Yeah.
I love sharing. I have the heart of a teacher. In other words, like you just say, serve without a purpose. And that's the end of the day. So you were telling me you moved to Pasadena and Baytown, and you have a calling from God. You served 22 years. And what happened next? What was your next challenge?
Well, about 1998 or so, I felt that the Lord still wanted me involved in church ministry, but also community service in other ways. So I ran for elective office. I was elected as a county commissioner in Waller County for the city of Waller and the northern part of the county. So that was a very interesting time, learning how how government works to make a difference in people's lives, make their lives better. I focused on roads and economic development myself during those times. So that was a very interesting learning period as well. And then during that time, the city of Waller actually set up a economic development agency. I helped with doing that as well as a commissioner. Helped set up authorize an election to where the city voters decided to have a half-cent sales tax in order to finance business attraction and more economic development.
right,
for the
right.
city.
It's growing.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of the biggest counties.
And at that time, it wasn't. So that was a stimulus that was
Right.
put in there basically by self-stimulus by voters of the city, saying that we want to draw good quality economic development to the area. So
Well, it helps in every single way.
So I worked with the chamber, the Houston Galveston Area Council, which is a regional organization in the city. We got that election done, and then after my term completed on the county commissioners court, as I said, I focused on economic development a lot during that time, and I was very interested in that. I wanted to see the people in our community be able to work in our community, not have to get on a freeway and go to somewhere else to get a job.
I agree.
Spend that time commuting. Be able to be home in the evening when your kids are playing baseball, instead of being on the home commute and the road
3 hours
commuting.
and 3 hours. You're already upset to get upset.
Yeah. So I just felt like that was a ministry itself.
That's right. And I totally agree with that in your vision. I 300% agree in your vision.
So when the City Economic Development Corporation, or EDC, decided to hire their first full-time person, I decided I wanted to focus on that. So I applied, was hired, set up the office. First few years, it was mainly a lot of just attending conferences and area conferences and letting people know that Waller was out there and interested in growing, wanted to be pro-business.
Well, they are building a huge freeway right now in Amazon. And which other companies already moved there?
That on I-10, yes.
Right.
Along I-10. And then 290 has been upgraded quite a bit the last few years.
Right.
So all that, transportation is a central key to economic development. So that's made a big difference.
Yeah, you have water is from I-10 all the way to almost 249.
Yeah.
As a city, no, it's a city. I'm sorry, it's a county.
Yeah. The two thoroughfares, I-10 and 290, which is interstate quality 2, basically.
Yeah, you
So,
have a perfect triangle right there. 99, and then they're building, I believe, 36A.
36A is being it's feasibility study.
In plans.
Yeah, feasibility study.
I look it online.
Right. It's undergoing feasibility right now as to how they might be able to afford to build it and how much good it would do. But basically, that connects from
Amazon.
from the port of Freeport up across I-10, across 290, and to north of Hempstead, to create a transportation corridor there. That
wow! So I
makes a
hope
big
a lot
difference.
of business owners are listening this, because this is a game changer, and there's a lot of land out there. If I'm a business owner and I want to contact you to know more about how can I move my business to Waller, what do they do? Do you have a phone number available that you can share?
Sure. Our phone number is 936
936
931
931
5151.
5151. One more time, please.
936 931 5151.
And that will go directly to you.
Right. That's a city of Waller.
And then they set an appointment,
Sure.
and then you take it from there.
I bet, absolutely. Be glad to see what they have in mind, what they're looking for. Maybe most of the contacts we get are people who already have a piece of land in mind, and they're considering a particular kind of business. And
Right.
so they come and talk to us and see, what's involved in setting up that kind of thing. What's the need for it in the area? Those kinds of things. So
Absolutely.
we try to facilitate all that. Put them in touch with whoever they need to be in touch with to
Right.
get their questions answered. For entrepreneurs, startups, we're connected to the Small Business Development Center at Prairie View A&M,
Right.
and so
It's like minutes there.
we can help them get over contact with them and put together a business plan if they've never done that before, because the SBDC has a lot of information about that sort of thing.
Wow. I can say for myself, we are, as a real estate company, we are opening an office over there, and they have been incredible help.
Yeah,
So
thank
if
you.
you're out there listening to this podcast, a success podcast, don't forget to download us at Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Apple. And if you're looking to expand your business, don't think it twice. City of Waller and Waller County are going to be the second growest county in Texas by 2050. That's a 30-year trend growth. And in the next 10 years is going to be actually the biggest growth. So now it's already late. Jump on it. And call to which number?
936-931-5151.
Thank you so much. So during the City of Water, you set up a lot of things. How many jobs they created from 2010 to 2020?
Since that last census, we had actually, our population has grown about 1,100 from about 2,300 to 3,400.
That's the city.
At the city, 2,300 to 3,400. So 1,100 population growth. But we added about 12,000 jobs
Wow.
in the same time period. And then plus, a lot of people have seen the big Daikin manufacturing facility on Highway
Right.
290. That's a 4 million square foot facility that has over 8,000 employees.
Right.
And that's not actually in the city of Waller. It's 2 miles from
From-
Waller,
yes.
but it's in our area, obviously, and they've kind of adopted us as their hometown.
Right.
So a huge amount of jobs out there right now, and that's stimulating a growth in residential. The Waller ISD school district is projecting 21,000
21 what?
21,000
Wow.
new housing units in
Right.
the next 8 years. So they're
Amen.
They're in the process of building a new high school.
I'm going to be right there, sir. That's what I'm opening an office.
You're going to be
and
one of them, aren't you?
Yes, that's right. That's
Good.
right. I see that growth.
Welcome.
I have the vision. So I've been studying for
Yeah.
a while until, we decided to execute
Mhm.
because a dreamer without execution is just an illusionist. You have to execute.
Absolutely. So we've grown. We've added manufacturers. One of the things I'm happy about was in 2015 we worked with our state representative to figure out a way to make annexations, voluntary annexations, a lot easier under state law for small towns like we are. So we were able to put that into effect so we could get utilities to people that actually wanted utilities and wanted to be in the city, but the state law had an obstacle to them getting there. So
Very nice.
by doing that, we were able to actually annex some business parks that we were already providing utilities to, and overall, we added about 20 to 30% on the property tax base.
Wow.
And that's when you increase your property tax base, you reduce the rate of taxes that
Right.
you have to charge. So that helps everybody.
Well, absolutely. I'm moving to water in a couple of weeks, and the tax rate is 2%.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know it's different in each area, but that's low.
Yeah.
That's very low, actually. It makes the world a difference.
It is.
And so, what are your if anybody that's listening us right now want to ask you an advice of what are success factors? What are key success factors? What will be your take on it?
Well, I've had obviously several different kinds of jobs as we've gone along, and
So from the moon to the city of water.
Moon, the Army, IBM, huge corporation, to one employee.
Once again,
One
thank you
employee
so much for being here.
nonprofit. Sure. And my wife even kids me that she says she's still wondering what I'm going to be when I grow up.
Is that right?
Keep changing. But to me, I think I guess the common thread is community involvement, trying to make the community better than when you came, better than you found it, that sort of thing. I really have never sat down to say, okay, in 30 years I'm going to be this or that, or plan the success out way in the future or anything like that. That just hadn't been the way I do it. I tend to just what's the next thing that needs to happen,
Right.
and move to that. So I see success factors as doing your best in every place wherever you're placed, doing it in a professional manner, showing respect and encouragement to everybody that you're dealing with, collaborating with people, with other groups and other
You need a team.
organizations,
You
with
always
other
need a team.
individuals. Absolutely need a team to maximize the impact.
Leverage.
What you're going to be able to do.
That's right.
So I think those are all keys. Most of all, as a Christian, I believe it's our accountability to God for the talents He's given us, the family He's given us, the career opportunities He's given us, just to realize that we're accountable to Him for doing our best with it.
Absolutely. It's when nobody is seeing you is what it matters.
Yeah, that's right.
That's absolutely right. Well, Mr. John, we want to say once again, it's been a pleasure to having you in Success Upturned. I know you are incredibly busy developing the upcoming top city in the area, City of Water. And if you are a business owner, do not think it twice. Call Mr. John at
936-931-5151.
And thank you so much for everybody that's listening today. Please share this video because we're also video recording it in our YouTube channel and all the social media sites. And of course, download our Success Upturned podcast at Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Stitcher. Thank you very much. And once again, if you are ready to share your success story, don't think it twice. Call me directly to my cell phone, 713-530-2455. We'll see you soon.
We are all chasing something greater. It's not quantifiable. It's not ubiquitous. It's not the same for every person. It's success. And the cold, hard truth is, only some people have it in them to succeed. Do you? Well, what is success? The answer is, What Success Upturned. And we're bringing all the inspiration of What Success Upturned to you from those who have pushed relentlessly against all odds, beaten the competition, and won. Success Upturned reveals the other side of winning, the grueling long nights that end in failure, forcing you to get back up again. The sacrifices of family, friends, and faith, resulting in tears, rejection, and loss. We take an intense look at the financial stress following your own path can cause, and the do-or-die defining moments where those who don't have it in them give up, and those that do break through and enter a level of success where their faith, their family, and their quality of life is what they dreamed it would be, and more. In the end, it's your spirit that has the willpower and energy needed to break through the pain of brain-racking work, and it's your spirit that's rejuvenated and rewarded the moment your success comes rolling in. If you want to share your story and share your Success Upturned history, go online to successupturned.com or call 713-530-2455 to be part of the Success Upturned podcast today.